Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In VinaCapital, I sort of wear two hats. One is I'm managing director overseeing the entire real estate investment arm of the group. I am also wearing the hat of the executive chairman of VinaLiving, which is the development arm of VinaCapital. Today is about market update and our strategy and a few exciting new initiatives that I hope it will attract attentions of our potential investor. Every presentation will start with a market snapshot. However, I believe that if you're looking for the market data as well as an overview sector by sector update, our folks in Collier, CBRE, and Savills has fantastic research, and probably you can find the reports are available anywhere online. We, on the other hand, has to admit that for the Vietnam real estate, it's very difficult to do a quantitative analysis. Our market intelligence mostly comes from our conversations with the various stakeholders in the market, including our developer competitive, the peers developers in the market, our customers, credit institution, the lenders, distribution agents and onward, where we think that we get the best sentiment of the market on the updated basis. I would like to split the market into pros and cons. I'm trying to be as updated as possible. On the pro side of the real estate market, I would think that we all agree that real estate is always stays one of the Vietnamese, probably the ultimate Vietnamese favorite capital deployment channel. If you look at the typical net worth of a Vietnamese family, the property would take on from 70 to maybe 200% of their net worth. And when you're talking to various classes of Vietnamese, doesn't matter of different ages, their top priority is to own a home. If they own a home already, they want a second home and a third home. So it's undisputed that the Vietnamese love put money in real estate for generations, as long as I could recall. That's why we have a very strong fundamental. Everybody wants a house. We have constant demand for expansion on industrial properties. You heard this morning about the folks of the FDI attractions. We have more malls and retail spaces nowadays, probably 5 times compared to the last 10 years. And if you go to a typical Vietnamese mall after COVID-19, it's fully packed. The traffic is back to the pre-COVID-19. It's even better. If you see our chief economist's presentation on the spending and consumptions, it's obviously support that the retail business is getting back, and it's very much support the rental incomes for the commercial assets operators. Office, of course, most of the Class A office in Ho Chi Minh City or in Hanoi, and very, very high occupancy, always above 90% occupancy since the last 10 years. We have much better distribution system. Well, I will admit this is one of the things you will surprise, because there are thousands of travel agents, but the quality of the distribution, the sales agents in Vietnam, the quality, the quantity, the way they run sales campaign, the efficiency of using social media and multiple channels to approach the customers these days is way better than years ago. And it helps a lot to enhance the liquidity of the market. And it helps a lot for the developer as well. Nowadays, as a developer, you can confidently rely on the third-party distribution channel without having to heavily invest in thousands of agents under your payroll. The legal framework has evolving and getting to a more transparent and more fair competitions across the sectors, from state-owned developers to private developers, or from the local developer versus foreign developers. The landscape is more flat for everybody to have a play. The last point I want to make is that one thing that we observe and is changed starting very slowly 10 years ago, and it gets very visible over the last 5 years, is that buyers nowadays are willing to pay huge premium for quality products. And admittedly, the quality of the real estate products in Vietnam getting better in a very short period of time. If you go to the modern township that developed by Vingroup, the entertainment complex developed by Sun Group or Novaland, you'll be amazed about the quality of the local developers' products nowadays. And it's very much comparable to the peers in the regions, without saying internationally as well. And between the branded and non-branded, the strong brands actually earn very, very high premiums, significantly premiums over the non-branded products. And this is where we think that is a great chance for players like us who always focus on niche market and quality products could earn a premium return over our competitors. This is probably the pros. We heard about, I think most of you coming here over the last few months hear tons of negative news on the market. I was just trying to list them all here. We have the land price in Vietnam is just getting higher, which for the developer, it's just limited the chance for the new developers to have the chance to develop new projects. Everywhere in the nations, not just big cities, tier 2 and tier 3 cities, the land price is going up significantly as well. We have high interest, imminent high inflation. It's not happened yet, but there are symptoms, there are signals we were expecting inflation. And inflation, we all know, is an enemy, is a great enemy of the real estate market. We have USD appreciation, and the market sentiment deteriorates. The liquidity as well as the sales rate of the projects over the last 6 months already seen a significant drops. Limited funding for developers. Bond market, you heard of it already, it's been restrained. Bank lending over the last 6 months, the State Bank Vietnam has already been ordered all the commercial banks restrained on lending to real estate sectors, and there will be radical changes into the legal frameworks. The new land law is coming up by the end of this year, probably early next year. There will be very much changes toward the fact that it will be more and more difficult to develop the land bank for developers. Now, with all this negative news, I would probably ask the question, it's bad, but does it come to you as a surprise? I believe not. I think after 2 years of COVID-19, with the tremendous influx of money into the economy, with the encouragements of credit growth and the global climate of people rushing to new investments with higher appetite of risk, we've seen these things coming. We've seen these things coming. And therefore, if you are a CEO and CFO of a company and you see, oh, I'm not seeing these things coming in the short run, you've done something very wrong. So at VinaLiving, I think we've seen these things coming from far away. Over the last probably 12 months, we didn't borrow any single dollars more. At this stage, we're sitting on a cash on debt ratio about 3 times. We fully funded for the future development costs of our projects. We are not relying on any debt funding or an external funding sources to complete and deliver our project to the customers. We secured about $350 million of revenues over the last 12 months, and our collection ratios has been so far over 95% on time from our customers. So for the existing developer, I think probably the most critical factor for all of them is not the fundamental factors of the market, but the short-term liquidity. If they run into the short-term liquidity, it will kill them before they can see the upside in the long run. However, we're here today, I think probably after 4 or 5 years in this investor conference and people asking about investment opportunity, in the previous years, I found it very hard to bring up any investment opportunities for you, because people at that point of time with the asset or with the project will price their projects on a stick like this, and they're trying to price their projects 2 years in the future on the upside market. That's what you will see. Because when you're asking how much is that piece of land, how much the project, they will name the price 2 years down the road. If you don't buy it, fine, because they leave it there for another 3 months, it's going up slightly. Unless you are willing to pay a premium so that they can reinvest their money, then you can buy. But it's going to be very hard for you to run an IR and making a project feasible. At this point of time, the pricing of the assets will be like this. So when you come to see them, say, hey, how about if you keep it another 12 months, it's going to be worse. How about 20% discount, 15% discount? And people start to say, I'm thinking about it. So in conclusion, I'm gladly that this is environment, probably I would say, is the best time for new money to come to the market. It's the best time. Whenever you hear about the news that, hey, real estate in Vietnam is very good, residential sales, apartment price going very high, land price going up, when you read those kinds of news, it's already been too late to deploy the capital. And when you come to Vietnam and you come to Ho Chi Minh City to looking for opportunity after that news, it's already been too late. When the market is in this sentiment, is the best time to start to thinking about invest and deploy money. So in VinaCapital and VinaLiving, we actually looking at real estate investments in quite a different approach. We break down the investment process into a value chain. Now, it's very typical when I first talk to an investor or a new entrant into the market. I say, what do you want to invest in Vietnam? They say, I want a project. And then what kind of project, where it is? They're normally describing like a commercial building, an office building, a mixed-use apartment building or something like that. What we're trying to explain to them is that in order to do a project in Vietnam, is actually taking a lot of resources and time. It's inclusive the process of land bank, which first of all, you need to secure a piece of land first. I'll explain in detail any one of these steps is involved is about. You will have to start to design and develop the project. Think about how to distribute it. If it's a residential project, you're going to sell the product. If it's a commercial project, you're going to lease it out. And then you're going to run the project and operate. Along that process, the risk profile and the types of capital into every one of these are actually very different in terms of risk and return profile. And the fact that most of the investors trying to combine doing all of this in one deal, it makes it so hard for them to pick up a project. Because it takes too long, it's either very unforeseeable, it's so much legal risk involved, and the types of capital that they have in the pocket might not fit with the risk and return profile of each of these steps. So let me explain to you again, in terms of the funding, everybody thinking going to the real estate market is purely equity. I want to invest in a project, it's going to be our equity money. You don't need to, you can get exposure to each and every single of these steps by either equity, convertible, a hybrid instrument, or structured products. You can still have a downside guarantee, you still have the risk managed, just like Andy just explained. When we approach a project, sometimes we don't get greedy as far as our partners give us a good return out of this, and then we have the upside from the actual returns of the projects. Although our return is bound between the two bands, it's still better than fully exposure to the timing and the legal risk of the project. The first step of the real estate development in Vietnam is quite challenging for most of the foreign developers because it requires land clearance, compensation, resettlement, and then it's a process of remaster planning and rezoning. You're going to deal a lot with the local government on this process, and it's keep getting harder and harder due to the new legal frameworks that you have. So this land bank process needs a long-term capital. It could be extremely profitable if you pick the right place and working with the right partner who knows how to do licensing, rezoning stuff. But you need a long-term capital in order to finish the process of converting a piece of farmland becomes a developable land area. For development, it requires different types of core competency. It's about design, it's about putting the right product mix that fits with the customer's preference at that point of time. It's about project licensing, getting all the permits done. There are probably over 20 pieces or permits for each real estate project that you need to obtain in order to put a project from the beginning until you hand over to your customers. And you're probably going through over every single department in a city to get those pieces of approvals. And it's very complicated and tricky process. A lot of education needed for first time come to Vietnam in order to get proficient with that. It's about budget control, good procurement, transparency, and it's quality control. For distribution, the most important factor probably about branding, because if you have a strong brand, your product will much advantage compared to the other competitors. About pricing, timing, it's about your customer base. If you have done a number of projects in Vietnam, people start building trust, and the returning customers will always playing a very strong forces, all the real estate developers in Vietnam. It's also about packaging. The market getting more and more creative in terms of packaging the products with financing solutions, with value enhancement, with guarantee buyback, operational supports after delivering, and so on and so forth. The products nowadays got just not a pure product, just not a house, just not a shop house, just not a hotel. It comes with very complicated and sophisticated packaging. Operations is the last stage of real estate development. Normally, it requires refinancing. So normally, along the process of land bank capital, you do a development loan. It's going to be expensive. But after the project's put into operation, you can refinance it with the long-term capital, put into a REIT, and it enhances your IRR by just refinancing it. It's about yield management, cost control, and the most important factor for a developer is also considering whether you want to do it in-house or you're going to outsource this operation phase, because normally it's not that profitable. So when we look at all of these stages, we normally pick the phases, the piece of cake that we think is most profitable. And here I took a typical real estate development project in residential or mixed-use sectors. I do a generalization here. It's just for illustration purpose. But in the normal market, the most of the gross development profit is the total revenue deducted by the total development cost. Up to about 60 or 70% of the profits will fall into the development and the land bank phases. Whereas the funding part, which is the financiers, the lenders, the equity holders, actually earn about 15% of that profit, and only about 20% or less are going to distributions and operations. So it's about 5 or 6% typical selling expenses, and another 4% for branding premium and other packaging features. But in this particular market, when all of these funding difficulties arises, the profit structure of the project will change. And you see, I would call it this market. Whereas if you have the new money right now, it allows you to negotiate and bargain with a developer to squeeze out much more premium and profit out of that. It increased significantly. If you bring new money into developer right now, there are developers are willing to give you very high double-digit returns, guarantee with collateral and everything. So it's interestingly in this market, if you come in the new money, you make more money than in the past, and people are much entertained to talk to you. You can also see that I will illustrate that for the operation and distribution profits also get more. Why? The reason being is that stronger brand name, people with expertise in terms of financing and refinancing and funding on the post-delivery part of the project will gain competitive advantage, and it's also the same advantage as the financial provider will have. This will squeeze down the profit of the land bank and the development people. But the interesting part here, I would say, if you combine funding with land banking, you get about 50% of the profit out of the project, a typical project in future. That's why later on I'll explain one of the things that we're suggesting is we create a product to tackle that particular segments in the future to capture the profit. And like I said from the beginning, we try to break down these different components into the risk horizon as well as investment horizons. Investment horizons means your payback period, how long it takes you to get back your money. And the size of the bubble here is just illustrate the amount of profit relatively between each of different phases of development in this particular market. So we think if you play on the funding part, you can get a very good return. You get back money very fast, somewhere between 12, even 24 months, you can get your money fast. And it's relatively low risk because you can go into a project with a very mature legal status, even have products available already, and you can ask the developer to share the profits with you as they run out of funding for their own project. Land bank and development remains relatively high profit sectors. However, it needs you at least typically about 5 to 7 years to get your money back. And the risk and the resources you have to put into this is quite high. But we are here, VinaLiving so far has been very proficient running in 2 segments of development, distribution. We have sister companies who is extremely good at operations. And therefore, the 2 other elements of land bank and funding, we think here is the opportunities for us to create new product and platforms to attract new money from investors. And that's what we're here today to actually pitching about. So it comes to the 3 initiatives we want to bring to our potential investor today. And I have my investment team members sitting around the room. And if you're interested in any kind of this platform, I don't have time to go into deep dive into detail of this. But my team are willingly to sit back and discuss with you and more probably provide some materials on the color of the project that we have here. So we have Hai, our head investment there. Hai, may you raise your hand? And Hing sitting back, and we have a number of other real estate investment team members here that could explain to you more. So the 3 initiative here is that we offer a co-investment platform, and we've been doing this for the last 3 to 4 years. Our strengths are in 2 types of products. One is the low-rise developments in Ho Chi Minh City outskirt area. We are also strong in the beach and condo development along the Central Coast. These are the areas that we already have the land bank. We just need a co-investor to funding part of it and push into development in the next 3 to 5 years. Minimum ticket about $10 million, and we expect more than 15% IRR. The risk profile for this platform is medium. You can refer it back to the map that I just showed you. This is a new platform we're trying to pitch. We're trying to create new sources of money to combine between funding and land banking. There's elements of fixed guarantee returns in these segments. Minimum tickets also about $10 million. Investment horizons, the payback period about 3 to 7 years. You can roll over this investment in land bank platform to a development platform to earn higher return, but of course it requires higher investment horizons. And the expected return that we think for these platforms could be over 20%. The last element is the financial and the funding part standing alone. We call it structured products. We have access to a number of leading developers in Vietnam who is actually raising funds. But in this particular, our strength is to help you to actually looking at their project risk analysis, making sure that there's way to get the money back safely and is adequate collateral and security over this kind of structure. This is a low to medium risk profile because it's fully backed by security and assets, and we still think that we could generate about 15% above both. And the minimum horizon, there are certain products offered that you can get the money back within 2 years, depending on the time-to-time offers. I think that's ends up my presentation. I will have a video clip, but I will show about VinaLiving, but I will show it during the break, just leaving more time for you to make any Q&A if you would like to. There were 10 minutes for that. Any question? Okay, then I'll just go to the video clips. So it's just to conclude my presentation. I think to in real estate investment, there's just 3 key elements of success factors. Be in the right place. Of course, since the morning, you all heard about Vietnam. We still believe it's a fantastic place to invest, especially the real estate sector. Right time. I'll just say from the beginning of my presentation, it's a very good time, and it's probably the best time for new money to come to the market. And the right partner, which is us, why you're here. Okay, this is a short video clip. I will say short, but about 5 minutes about VinaLiving. Hope you enjoy it.
Over the past decade, VinaLiving has been building dream homes for Vietnamese generations. Established as the real estate development brand of VinaCapital in 2010, and with a deep root from VinaLand, Vietnam's largest closed-end real estate fund, listed on the London Stock Exchange with over $800 million of total assets under management.
We launched VinaLiving with a vision of offering sophisticated, high-quality housing that's tailored to the need and within the reach of more Vietnamese people. Combined with world-class feature and amenity, we also strive to deliver a high level of after-sales care and services. This focus enables our customers to maintain the lifestyle they seek for themselves and their family, but also invest in the value of their property.
Our drive and enthusiasm inspired our peers and partners to grow, and together we became a great developer.
Ngay từ những dự án đầu tiên, VinaLiving đã và đang trung thành với triết lý của mình, đó là đem không gian nghỉ dưỡng vào ngôi nhà của bạn. Triết lý này được chúng tôi thể hiện xuyên suốt trong toàn bộ sản phẩm của mình, bắt đầu từ việc lựa chọn vị trí cho đến thiết kế quy hoạch, lựa chọn các vật liệu và mô hình vận hành cho dự án.
VinaLiving's homes are renowned for their superior quality, sustainable materials, and access to top-tier facilities within their gated communities.
Tôi đã mua căn nhà đầu tiên của mình vào cuối năm 2016. Sau khi tham quan ngôi nhà mẫu ở khu này, điều đầu tiên mà tôi ấn tượng nhất là khu biệt thự được khép kín rất an ninh nhưng bên trong rộng rãi, thoáng mát, với mặt tiền sông mát mẻ. Về mặt xây dựng thì các ngôi nhà được thiết kế đẹp và vững chắc.
Our philosophy, Bring Resort Lifestyle Home, is inspired by homeowners who seek peace, seclusion, and privacy in a beautiful natural environment.
VinaLiving là thành viên của VinaCapital Group, một trong những nhà đầu tư có kinh nghiệm dày dặn nhất trong lĩnh vực khách sạn và resort ở Việt Nam. Chúng tôi tận dụng những năng lực và bản sắc tinh túy nhất của các đối tác hàng đầu thế giới để đưa vào các sản phẩm bất động sản của mình. Khao khát và mục tiêu lớn nhất của VinaLiving là bàn giao cho khách hàng những ngôi nhà vượt xa các cam kết ban đầu, đem lại những giá trị vượt trội và bền vững cho các khách hàng của mình.
Đến khi về sống ở đây thì tôi cảm thấy thật xứng đáng với quyết định đúng đắn của mình. Ở đây không những là một nơi để sống mà còn là một nơi để nghỉ dưỡng thư giãn sau một ngày làm việc mệt mỏi. Nó giống như là một resort thực thụ với môi trường sống xanh, sạch đẹp và đầy đủ các tiện ích công cộng cho cư dân ở đây thì nó đã nâng giá trị của ngôi nhà mình lên rất nhiều. Trong quá trình sống ở đây, tôi cũng rất hài lòng về cách quản lý và vận hành của ban điều hành nội khu. Vì vậy, đối với tôi, đây là một môi trường sống rất lý tưởng cho mọi người.
We believe that master planning and sustainable design set the foundation for quality and durable products. We partner with leading design studios, and we apply our innovation to the latest trend while staying relevant to the Vietnamese lifestyle and maintaining a strong respect for culture, nature, and environment.
At VinaLiving, we are helping more Vietnamese people achieve a lifestyle and home that they previously could only dream of.
Beyond building homes, we are driven by our philosophy to provide refined experiences for inspired living and enriched communities to build the best for our future generations. VinaLiving. Live the dream.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.